Okay, so let us continue. So we have seen some basic functionality of a phone, which is how to make a call and about the SIM card. So the next thing that we are going to focus is how it is like a computer. Okay, so we have all seen a computer, right? So this is a simple desktop computer, and it has hardware and software, right? So what is the hardware that a computer has? You can all see here, right? It's all here on this picture. This is your CPU, right? This is a big box. This has a lot of CPU and other hardware things. Then there is a display. There's a keyboard. This could be this is your processor chip. This is your motherboard, right? So if you're looking at processor, we are talking about Intel or AMD processor, which are popularly used today. And it has display, monitor, keyboard, mouse, mic, speakers, and whatnot, right? A lot of things that you see on a computer. So now, what is the software that you have on your desktop computer?
Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix, etc.
Operating system,
Operating
lot
system.
of other
lot of software.
applications like word processor.
Okay. So you have operating system. We all know Windows, Mac, and Linux. A lot of other softwares, right? You have Microsoft Office, for example, your business applications, Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, PPT, or Office is one of the examples. And browsers, right? We don't remember, we don't think about browsers, right? They are very important. So to access internet, you have Chrome, Firefox. What is the browser? Then there are a lot of games that you have either installed or it came with your PC. Then there are audio video players. So you need something to play an audio or a video file. So there are a lot of such software that is there on a desktop computers, right? So that is what we have to think when you are thinking about desktop computers. So now, let's say I go to a smartphone. So what are the processors that you can think of? So let's start with the hardware. So what are the processors that you can think of which are used in a smartphone? So I told about Intel and AMD for a desktop. So what is the equivalent in a smartphone?
Qualcomm, MediaTek.
Sorry?
Qualcomm, Snapdragon, MediaTek, Helio processor.
Okay. Qualcomm, MediaTek, these are the two companies. So I said Intel and AMD for a desktop. So someone is saying here Qualcomm and MediaTek. Okay. What are the other companies?
Even Apple manufactures its own processor.
Yes,
and Samsung
correct.
also. Samsung also manufactures.
Yes, very good. I think you answered all the four companies that I wanted to write. Okay. So these are the four major processor companies in the world. So you have Qualcomm, you have Apple, you have Samsung, and the MediaTek. So if you have the smartphone with you, you can always look at it. Typically, Qualcomm puts this Snapdragon sticker on the back side of the phone. Apple, you can anyway make out from the Apple phone looking at the phone itself. And if there are other two processors also, you can always type the phone model on Google, and you can see what is the processor. So it is mostly, probably all 100% of the phones should be any one of these, right? Qualcomm is the major player in the world, and obviously Apple supplies processors only to Apple phones. Samsung, MediaTek, and Qualcomm powers your Oppo, Vivo, and other phones. So it comes from either Qualcomm or MediaTek. So these are some of the company logos. So you can see how it looks. So if you have your Snapdragon, the image will be something like this, and this is a Apple processor. This is a Samsung Exynos, and MediaTek. Now, what is the software in a smartphone?
Android,
iOS.
Okay, first is operating system. So what are the operating systems that we use?
Android operating system.
Android. Okay. What else?
Apple iOS.
Okay. Android, iOS.
Windows.
What about Windows? Yeah, Windows. Somebody said Windows. Okay. What are the other? What is the other software? Okay, OS is one. What is the other software?
BlackBerry OS.
Yeah, I didn't write. Probably that is still there. Maybe there are very few phones which use BlackBerry. Okay, what is the other software? Let's say you have operating system on your phone. Okay, what is the other software you have?
Other
Very important.
applications like GPS.
Correct. Apps, right? We call it as apps. So apps can be inbuilt or it can be downloaded. So when we're talking about apps, so it is a software application designed to run a mobile device. So it is either used to run a mobile device. So some things are very fundamental, so which are required to run your system, and some are downloaded because we have a preference. I downloaded some app for me. Let's say I like to play games, so I download a specific app which is used to play a game. So we know that apps do a lot of functions. It is not only used for entertainment or for gaming. It is also used for communication. So you may have an email app which is used for emailing, or you have an app like WhatsApp which is used for chatting or social media. Then there are a lot of apps for financial transactions, like let's say banking or UPI, right? So all these apps. So that's why in the initial slides we said that smartphones today are also our assistants, personal assistants. So since they are digital, we can call them as personal digital assistants or PDAs. So that's why it is called as a smartphone, because of all the apps that comes into picture. Okay. So we spoke about the process, we spoke about software, and there is another important hardware, that is battery. So why is battery important in a phone?
To provide power.
Correct. So that's the source of the power, right? So if you're looking at battery, so what is your common complaint, or what are you worried about the battery part?
It will drain. It's how quickly it will drain.
Correct. How quickly it will drain, right? And what how do you measure it? Or how do you look at from the phone? When you're buying a phone, how do you know that, okay, how fast it drains?
We have the
Number of
battery capacity like 5000 mAh. So based on the highest capacity, we can prefer the phone.
But does it guarantee? Let's say you buy 5,000, somebody buys 7,000. Obviously, right? Just from the number 7,000 should last longer. Is that true? It's always true.
It also depends on the how much power consumed by the smartphone.
Yeah, those applications which we install also consumes battery, so we should maintain it in such a way that not much battery is consumed.
Correct. Okay. So what these phone manufacturers do, right? So they have to advertise both, right? They have to advertise, and they also need a technical benchmark to say that, okay, my phone is better than the competitor phone. So what they do is they do something called as endurance testing. Endurance testing means testing the life of the battery once you stop charging it. Okay, so you put the charger, let's say you charged it to 100%, then what you do is you remove the charger. So you remove the charger, and then these manufacturers say that, okay, how long my phone lasts. But there is a drawback in this. If I say how long does it last, what I would do, right? Let's say if I want to show that my phone is better, I will not run any app. I'll just keep the phone like this. Then it will last for 2-3 days because I'm not doing anything in the background. I'm not using the phone at all. So that can be misleading. So what they do, right? So if you look at this chart, this is an example of phone battery life from different manufacturers, and this number represents in hours and minutes. So this particular phone, they say that it goes on for 15 hours and 30 minutes. So then you have to ask me, okay, this lasts for 15:30, this lasts for 11:24. Okay, how did you decide? How can I say what was happening during those 15 hours, right? That is important. So now if you go to this website, I haven't put all the details, but you can always look at that website. So they have said that you make calls for certain number of hours, okay, voice call. Then you make video calls for certain number of hours. It can be video call or a video playback. That means you play a video on your phone for certain number of time, and you say that, okay, this is what I've been doing for 1 hour. I'm playing video for 1 hour. And then I'll say I'll make a voice call for 2 hours. Then I browse the internet, some static page, let's say a newspaper for half an hour, right? So you set that parameters. Okay, this is what we are doing, and then you calculate this life of the phone. Okay, battery life. How long does it last? So that's how they benchmark the devices. Okay, this is called as endurance testing of the phone. Hope this is clear. So if you're buying a phone, you have to always look at that. So like someone said, milliampere per hour, mAh. So it represents that how much current your phone is using in 1 hour. That's what is mAh. So milliamperes, amperes is a unit for current, measuring current, and H stands for hour. So you're saying how much current is being used by the battery or the phone in 1 hour. So that's what your phone represents.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
What about self-discharge in batteries? How is that built into this calculation where they have said 15.3 hours, another one is 12 hours? But every battery has an inherent self-discharge. It is not possible, it will get discharged. Of course, I don't want to go into the many other details. It also depends on the chemistry of the battery.
Yes.
Whether using lithium iron phosphate, or whether using manganese, or whether using cobalt. And I don't want to get into all the details. But how is the self-discharge factored in this scheme where it says 15.30 or 12.2, whatever the slide that you have shown?
Yes. Okay. So to answer your question, right, if I just look at this slide is not taking that into consideration. So this is specifically benchmarking on the battery life itself, but not on the technology. Let's say these vendors submit their phones for benchmarking, and let's say that company who is benchmarking, they benchmark the phones on that. So it is the responsibility. So that's a hardware aspect. Let's say that cell phone manufacturer, if Motorola thinks that, okay, my phone has lower battery life, then it's a thing that it's a problem which Motorola has to think, saying that, okay, my competitor with the same lithium ion battery and 5000 milliampere battery, he is able to run for, let's say, an hour more than me. That means I have to do something about it, right? So that's more on a design perspective on the power system, because battery discharge is one thing, and the power electronics within the battery could also be having a lot of leakages, right? That means there could be power loss. That's
Absolutely.
Standby.
Absolutely.
Right? Just in standby itself, it may be losing power.
Yes.
Right. So those things these manufacturers have to worry about, and that is always their constant worry, because people will complain only one thing: this phone is very good, but the battery doesn't last.
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Okay. Let's move to the next important part. So I'm covering some important hardware. So definitely display is more important. See, there are many display technologies. Okay, even I don't know much, and I'm not going into all these display technologies. So it's not that phones have invented these display technologies like AMOLED or LCD, LED, IPS. It was always there because TVs were there, right? Television was there. Lot of things was borrowed from television. For example, Korean companies like Samsung or LG, they were leaders in these kind of technologies, and that slowly started moving into mobile phone technology also. But the interesting thing, right? The interesting thing that we have to remember, unlike a desktop computer, in a smartphone, the display panel acts both as a monitor and it is also an input device, right? So today in smartphones, it is not only used to view something, but it is also an input device. That means it is also used as a keyboard and a mouse. Correct, right? So that's the difference. So how does that work? And there is a technology, something called as capacitive touchscreen technology. So if you have a smartphone, it is a touchscreen today, right? It's all a touchscreen. So we don't have buttons. So whatever the buttons or the keypad that you see, that is also on the same touchscreen. Similarly, you can also move around like mouse. So that is also on the same screen, and you also view on the same screen. Okay, so that means it has to have both the functionalities in the background. So let's briefly look at this. So this picture, looks quite good. So I thought I'll put it here. So what happens is you have all this, what do you say? This is the screen, So the top surface is obviously glass. So when we touch the screen, we feel it as a glass. But on the back side, it has a plastic layer, and then there are a lot of sensors below that. So what are the small boxes that you see? These are all the sensors. So when you touch, right, there is a capacitance. Basically, there is a connection that happens between these two small boxes. So what happens is these boxes, right, they are so small that when we touch, we definitely touch more than one box. Okay, we touch more than one box. So when you touch more than one box, you basically complete that circuit. Okay, otherwise it's an open circuit. You have these two boxes. So what you do is you touch these two boxes. So there is a connection that you make these two boxes. So then your touch screen knows that you have touched this particular point on the phone. Okay, so that is how I can explain a capacitive touch screen technology. Okay, so what you can see here is so this is how mathematically it will be connected, so that it's like a matrix. So you have some x-axis and y-axis boxes, and then you say that, okay, I have touched this box and this is the electrical connection, and at the back end there is a processor or a touch screen controller. Touch screen controller is also a processor which identifies the touch and it takes an action. Okay, so what you can imagine is you touch these boxes and the information or the electrical signal goes to that processor, which is a touch screen controller, and it identifies the touch, and then it takes the action. Okay, and then there are obviously a lot of algorithms, right? Then there is a lot of software. This is not a hardware alone thing. Hardware is only this much. So you touch the screen, the information goes to the processor, but obviously processor has that software or algorithms which knows, okay, what to do. Okay, are you trying to swipe something left to right, or are you trying to zoom in, or are you trying to do double tap, right? All those things the software will understand. Okay, so that is how this touchscreen technology works. And obviously we know that this touchscreen has to be water resistant, dust resistant, and all those things, right? It has to be scratch resistant. So if the phone falls, it should not be. So if it scratches, right, then what happens? The top surface glass, if there is a scratch, you may not see much of a problem. But then there is a conductive mesh or the plastic surface below that. If that get damages, then your touchscreen does not work, right? Because the surface glass is still a protective layer. It is still a protective layer, but below that is the actual electrical part. So if you have a scratch on the surface, it may still work, but if it gets damaged, if it gets cracked, then it won't work. Okay, I'll move to the next one. So storage. So why is storage important? What is the meaning of storage?
Would it be
Mainly
battery
to store
capacity?
data.
Okay, we need to store data. Only we need to store data, or anyone else is also storing data? Okay.
What, sir? I didn't get you.
Only
System.
system. Correct. Yeah, my question was only, are you storing the data or someone else is also storing data on your phone?
Okay, the system is also storing.
Correct, right? So when we talk about storage, obviously there has to be separation in the storage, where some part is already taken by the system, we can't access it and it is going to use it, and some part is what we are allowed to use, and we can use this memory or storage for apps, data, any other content that we want to use, right? So if you look at different storage types, so there is NAND, flash memory. So most of the phones today have a flash memory or internal storage. So it is a non-volatile memory. Non-volatile means it can retain data even when the power is off. So obviously, right, if you are turning off your phone and turning on, you should not lose all the data. So obviously you need that. And it is also a flash memory. That means the access is very fast. That means it's a fast memory that you can access. Otherwise, your phone will become very slow. If you're not able to open some file, or if you're not able to access some picture or video, that could be because your memory is also slow. Not only your processor, but your memory could also be slow. Okay, this is the NAND memory. Then next is random access memory or RAM. I'm just giving the abbreviations here, because if you remember abbreviations, that is good enough. So when you're reading something or when you're browsing something on the internet, you will recall that, okay, I heard about NAND, I heard about RAM. So that should be good enough. Then you can read about it. So RAM, you can think of it as a temporary memory. Okay. So while NAND is a permanent memory, RAM is temporary. So what is the meaning of RAM being a temporary? That means when you turn off the phone, the memory is gone. Okay. Then it has to again store. So why is this used? So we also have RAM on our desktop computers. So why is RAM used? Because when you are doing any application, when you are doing any processing on the computer, you need a memory which is faster than NAND and which is closer to the processor. So you store temporary data here. Let's say you're doing some calculation, you want to store something temporarily, you use RAM to store that temporarily there. And then once the job is done, that data is erased. Okay, so it's a temporary storage area. Okay, then what else? We can also have external storage and cloud. So external storage, in today's world, maybe we don't need external storage because we have this NAND and RAM itself are coming, like RAM itself is going to 2 GB. NAND, we have internal storage in the phone itself now, like what, 64 GB, 128 GB, and very high data storage phones. So we don't need external storage. So, but many of the phones, if you see, they give an option for you to put a micro SD card or something like that inside the phone so that you can have an external storage. And then obviously we know cloud. So cloud is something where you don't store on your phone, but you store it an external server. So can you name some cloud services that you use every day? We all are using probably without our knowledge.
Azure,
Google.
AWS,
Amazon Web Services.
Okay. Do you use on your phone?
Yeah, for ordering things in Amazon.
Google Drive.
Google Drive, exactly right. So if you are an Android user, I'm sure that without my knowledge, if I'm an Android user, without my knowledge, I'm using Google Cloud Services, right? Because whatever the photos I click, my mails that I access, if I'm able to access it while I'm moving, that means it is stored somewhere. And so many photos, probably videos, I can't store it on my phone. It is going into the cloud. It is always there, right? Then I can delete it from my phone. So that means cloud-based storage is already being used. And other than that, many of you said Azure, AWS, definitely that we use. So if you're working in a company, maybe a lot of your documents, company-related documents are stored in AWS or Azure or somewhere. Right. So cloud is obviously a bigger storage space used today apart from your phone.
What is the abbreviation for NAND?
Good question. I have to search. I don't recall. I also go just by abbreviations.
So there is no abbreviation of NAND. The gate only, logic gate.
I think logic gate is different from the storage type, right?
This is storage, but using the NAND gate. Storage, but using the NAND gate.
It is a non-volatile flash memory. It is consist of NOT gate and AND gate. So it is called NAND.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Okay, I'll move further. Okay, what is the third feature? So we looked at phone, computer. Now we'll look at its camera. This is about the company. So DTRI, so we are based in Mysore in Karnataka. So we are an upskill company. So we have been training students in areas of embedded systems, IoT and 5G technologies. So when it comes to fresh engineers, we train and place them in core engineering companies because we want students to go in core engineering areas and not only IT companies. So that is other thing. That is our focus. And we also offer certification programs and practical learning, not only to fresher engineers. We also do a lot of corporate training. So we have done for TCS, Bosch, ZF, Airtel, and many such companies, L&T, many such companies. We have done corporate training programs also on all these technologies. So you can visit our website. You can get more details about what we do, and I have given the contact number here also. You can contact our company through this number. You can send WhatsApp messages, and you can also visit YouTube channel. You can communicate. You can ask questions. Then you can also write email to us.